The SIU has welcomed a special tribunal order dismissing an application for leave to appeal by former Transnet executive Herbert Msagala and his trust. On 17 November 2020, the Special Tribunal confirmed a preservation order to the value of over 18 million rand, which Msagala wanted to overturn. Msagala allegedly improperly benefited money to the tune of 18.4 million rand in tender irregularities while he was an executive at Transnet Capital Projects in 2015 and 2016. The SIU, in a statement on Wednesday, said the Special Tribunal had further declared that Msagala's assets worth 18 million rand be forfeited to the state. The assets include 35 luxury vehicles and 5 properties, which include 2 farms and houses in gated estates. Joining me now on this is SIU spokesperson Kaiser Khanyago. Tata Khanyago, thank you very much for speaking to us. Is this opulence?
Thank you very much.
So is this opulence an indication of money that is pilfered? Is that the lifestyle of those that pilfer money?
No, definitely. We have been following up on the lifestyles of people. Just imagine in this particular instance, a person who was an executive at Transnet was able to amass so much wealth that he can have 5 properties, including farms, and then he also had 35 cars. And you wonder why a person would even buy 35 cars for himself.
Absolutely incredible. 35 vehicles. Now, earlier this year, the SIU had set itself a deadline of August 2021 to complete all PPE-related cases. How are you progressing?
No, we are progressing very well. We did an announcement on Thursday when we were talking to SANEF, and we have indicated that it's only about 6% of the new PPE investigations that we have still not started. But at the moment, the rest are either finalized or they're in the process of being finalized. We still believe that we can deal with the deadline, but we must be mindful of the fact that we get new allegations on a day-by-day basis. Therefore, if we get allegations maybe in August, we won't be in a position to finish them at the end of August. But our target is very clear. We have made the promise to the president that we will want to finish those, because sometimes people even forget that we do not only deal with PPEs. We have got many other investigations that we are dealing with worth billions and billions of rands. For example, in state-owned institutions and national governments, we are looking at contracts that are to the value of 101 billion rand that we are investigating that are not related to COVID.
Now let's talk about your success rate. One of the things that you speak of is you speak of finality, saying you're finalizing a number of cases. What happens once a case has been finalized from your end?
Yes, what happens is we do outcomes, and then after the outcomes, we then get referrals based on the evidence that we have found. Therefore, the first one that we do is to make sure that we set aside contracts if they are unlawfully entered into. We take that to the Special Tribunal, and then out of that, we end up having to recover all the monies that were paid. In some instances, we ask for the whole amount to be paid back. In some instances, we do an equitable amount, basically saying to a person, you have spent so much that we understand, but the profit that you should have gotten, you cannot get profit out of any unlawful contract, then we get that money back. Therefore, that is the first part. The second part, we then look at who was culpable for doing what, either in the state institution or in government. And then we go after all of those people. We make sure that they are disciplined. And in most cases, those people then resign and want to run away because they are being investigated, they are being disciplined. And then we go after them at the Special Tribunal. We make sure that their pensions are frozen until the investigations are finalized. And that is the second part. And the third part is, in cases where we find criminality, we then refer that to the NPA and the Hawks to make sure that they are taken in the criminal sense. Because in terms of our act, we are not supposed to arrest people and prosecute them.
Are there any instances where you recommend or you discover criminality, recommend it to the Hawks and other institutions, and those individuals are then not prosecuted?
We cannot say they are not prosecuted. We can say they are not yet prosecuted, because in some instances, like you have seen with the Nelson Mandela funeral issues, the people are in court as we speak, and there are many others. Therefore, you must understand that the process of the NPA is different from us, because with us, we're dealing with civil cases, and when we have got to prove on the balance of probability that we are right, and in most cases, we win our cases. But with the criminal case, they've got to go and do further investigation so that they are able to prove with beyond reasonable doubt that these people have done what they've done. But we give them enough evidence for them to do that, and we also provide our investigators to be witnesses in those cases.
Now, you talked about investigating billions of rand. How much have you recovered, maybe in the last 12 months, for instance?
I don't have a figure that is rounded up at the moment because I don't have my documents with me now, but I can just give you examples so that you understand where we have been. For an example, in the Gauteng PPE scandal, we have saved the department about 124 million, and we are still counting. We have saved the ESCOM, for example, 1.56 billion with the contract that they had entered into with ABB, and that amount of money has been returned to ESCOM as we speak. In the case where there was an issue with SEP and the Department of Defense, we have saved them, and the money has been returned to them, an amount of 40 million rand that has been sent. Therefore, I'm just giving you this example so that you see the kind of things that we do. I don't have a rounded figure as I'm speaking to you now.
There's an incredible amount of money that you've returned into state coffers. Now, you talked a little bit about an increase in number of cases, certainly more cases than you had before. Are these coming via your whistleblowing hotline, or how are these cases, new cases, emerging?
Yes, most of them are coming through the whistleblower hotline that we have. And for us, it is very important that we are getting that kind of information through that whistleblower line, because the people are showing more confidence in the work that we have been doing, and they are seeing outcomes that we come up with. And for us, we are very grateful, because we cannot do this work if we are not getting this information. You must remember, as the SIU, all our investigations are allegation-based. Therefore, somebody must make the allegation and provide us with the evidence. And once that is done, therefore, we will be in a position to then verify all that information that we need to verify. And once we have verified the information, we will then be in a position to start the investigation once the president has signed the proclamation that we asked for the president to sign for us.
Now, I'd like to think that the process of acquiring some evidence can be arduous. If, for instance, you see your manager or your director pilfering money, you may not always have access to records, but are fully aware that money may be misappropriated.
Yes, if you point us to the right direction, we will be in a position to follow it up. But you must remember, in some instances, people are fighting their personal battles, and then they report to us. That's why we've got to evaluate whether there is truth. There are instances where we realize, when we check and ask questions, that this is just personal fights. There's nothing that is here, and those ones we put aside, and we write back to the person who laid the complaint to say there is no credence to whatever you're doing. But in most of the cases, as you might see, people are able to provide us with the evidence that we need, even if it's pointing us in the right direction, and we are then in a position to follow this up and make sure that everybody that has done something wrong is brought to book.
My final question returns to Mr. Msagala's situation, where 18 million has been forfeited to the state. What happens in the event that someone has pilfered R1 million, but has grown, call it, that pocket into 5 or 6 million rand? Do you then freeze the entire amount, or is it just the amount that has been prejudiced to the specific institution?
Yeah, for now, we can only work around the fact of the money that has been lost to the state, plus interest. Because that we need to, if you have been having this money over a period of time, you might have raised it through interest. We want that interest, because that interest doesn't belong to you.
Ms. Kganyago, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. SIU spokesperson Kaiser Kganyago, we appreciate you spending time with us this afternoon.